The first International Festival of Contemporary Art, City of Women, was established in 1995, organized by a public body, so the Office for Women's Politics of Republic of Slovenia. So it was a political background, a political initiative. The office was very active in that field and had, of course, strong actors that actually motivated and enabled a lot of changes to happen in that time. It's very interesting that back in the 95, I've heard some of the actors of that time saying, we knew what is going to happen. Actually, City of Women is a response to the future. And I think this is unfortunately very true, because we see growing tendencies of retraditionalization that are linked, of course, also to a capitalist mode of production, and the growing inequalities between people. And of course, when we think about capitalism and when we think about women's position within it, we need to know that it has a very long tradition. We know about the conditioning it makes. And therefore, it's very important when we think about those questions to always and I think the festival as such and the association is trying to put this forth, that gender is a central topic in any kind of societal organization. Whether be in capitalism or in socialism or some other kind of societal organization, there will always be the question of gender, which needs to be on the agenda, because patriarchy is something that relates all those, that is spread over all those systems. So a constant fight against this is completely necessary, and not forgetting that the issue of women or of gender is not an isolated category. It is crossed, interacted, and influenced by so many other factors, such as class, economic position, such as race, obviously, and not to mention other subcategories such as age, such as ethnicity, and so on. One of the crucial aspects is collaboration for the festival, as much locally, with different partners, and this has a repercussion on the festival itself, but also on the institutions or the partners we work with. On the regional level, the bridges, obviously, after the Balkan were broken in a certain way, and it took quite some time to establish new networks. When we think about how difficult in financial terms, but also in political and social terms, it is for different countries that have gone terrible situations and circumstances to be able to create a network that enables exchange, good practices, solidarity, help in times of crisis, exchange of artists, visibility for the regional artists, for artists from Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, Croatia, etc., and of course also to Slovenia, is very valuable to both communities, to ourselves as organization, and of course also to artists. And then there is the third dimension, which is the international one, without which we cannot imagine our work, obviously. For one, because it brings to Ljubljana and to Slovenia a lot of new voices, a lot of different voices, a lot of potential exchanges with local artists and local cultural workers. We often hear the comment, but art is genderless. And of course we are very curious about this question. Is it true? Is it not true? Who is the holder of the artistic action? Is the artist then also genderless, etc.? So based on these considerations and the fact that we went through a short, small desk research on the nominations and the prizes, highest Slovenian national awards for art, we saw that a very low percentage of women have been awarded in the last 50 years. We could understand that maybe in the first years, so after the war, etc., when these prizes were opened, that was the case. But that it's still the case is, of course, a big question mark for us. So while doing this research, figuring out there is only 8% of nominees which are female, we decided to take action, and together with the Asociacija, which is an association connecting different independent non-governmental organizations in culture and art, we proposed a new law, the Prešeren law, which defines actually these prizes, these awards, namely in the constitution of the committees, which were male-dominated. There was no mechanism at all in these boards that would enable bigger representation of women, and consequently also bring a little bit more of awareness on the question of gender equality in the art and cultural sector. So with this action, now the committees are more equalized, and we have seen in the last 2 years also very good examples how those policy changes affect, influence then the results, the nomination, etc. When we talk about feminism in art, it's important to stress the impact that it has, of course, on narrating different stories, of re-narrating stories from the past, different condition or social imaginaries that were common or collective in the past, and how with the feminist perspective we can shake it, we can enrich it, we can put it on a new ground, on a ground that was missing. This is usually talking about voices that are missing, voices that have been erased, stories that have not been heard, taboo topics that never were priority in a society. So it means bringing forth an agenda of visibility of all groups, not only marginalized groups, but groups of people that co-created societies but often were not heard. I think this is one of the great tasks in a certain way of the relation between feminism and art. And then obviously there is the second one, which is the one who looks for collective imagination for the future. And these are ideas about how to live together, how to be in a position of political and societal subject which construct a world, a society that we want to live in. And art has a potential, I guess, to be able to provoke us in all those directions, both in a past, in a historical perspective, and in future imaginaries. In 2019, we're celebrating the 25th edition of the International Festival, so it's a big moment for us. So this festival will be about celebration, and it will be framed by a very simple and recognizable idea, which is #HerStory. What we are interested in is to have a look backwards, a kind of feminist glasses, to look at the different events, situations in the past, and be able also to put new lenses for a kind of thinking feminist utopia for the future. We were also very much inspired by the theme democracy needs imagination. And in this regard, we think we need to open debates within institutions, not only in the independent, the NGO sector, within the institution to tackle burning issues which are related to gender, but are also related to diversity and accessibility, to handicap, to health, to burnout, and all those questions that are part of the working in the art and cultural context.